actually the Lubavitcher Rebbe mentioned many times, that we should learn about the temple. How was the temple? What was the purpose of the temple, etc. So we're going to take this class to learn different ideas about the temple. The idea of this text is to explain why are we actually learning about this. What difference does it make whether we learn about the temple or we don't? This text is from Midrash Tanhuma. There are many types of Midrashim. This is one of them, one of actually the oldest, Tanhuma, and in Parashat Tzav, and number 14. There are different Parashat and numbers, etc. So let's go. So the Rav Shmuel Bar Abba, he said the following idea. The Holy One, blessed be He, God, said to the Jewish people, even though the temple is destined to be destroyed in the future and the sacrifices to be nullified, I'll explain this in a minute, do not allow yourselves to forget the order of the sacrifice, but rather be careful to read about them and review them. And if you occupy yourselves with them, with the sacrifices, the ideas, the laws, etc., I will count it for you as if you were occupied with the sacrifices themselves. Point. Let's stop here for a second. What is this talking about? This midrash, this, so to speak, story, idea of our sages, it's talking about a conversation between God and Yechezkel Hanavi, the prophet Yechezkel, Ezekiel. We will read about him in a minute, just in a minute. And the basic idea of this midrash is, well, look, there was a first temple. It was built by Shlomo Melech, King Solomon, and destroyed 410 years afterwards by the Babylonians, Nabucodonosor. I don't know exactly in English how to pronounce that, forget it, but he destroyed the first temple. There were afterwards 70 years of exile of Jewish people in Babylon. And after that, there was a reconstruction of a second temple, or the construction of a second temple, which lasted 420 years. Afterwards, it was destroyed by the Romans around year 69, 70. It's a discussion, but it doesn't make a difference for us right now, of the Common Era. And until today, 2,000 years, more than 2,000 years, we don't have a temple. That's the very brief story. Now, Yechezkel himself, he lived in the times of the destruction of the first temple and before the construction of the second temple, in those 70 years of exile of the Jewish people in Babylon, which actually is also the times of Purim, of the festival of Purim, has nothing to do with us today, but just to put you in a context of historical context. And Yechezkel received a very complex prophecy about a third temple. That means he prophesied that after the destruction, pay attention, I'm not making a mistake in words. I'm being very careful with the words. He prophesied when the first temple was destroyed, he prophesied there would be a second temple. I said third, but he prophesied there would be a second temple. And that second temple would be destroyed, actually. And then there would be a third temple, which would be, and we're still waiting for it, it should be constructed speedily in our days with Mashiach, etc., but we're still waiting. That third temple would be eternal, an eternal temple. Very nice. But the second temple, now let's go again with the text we had before. Oops, I'm sorry. The text said, God said to Israel, even though the temple is destined to be destroyed, he's talking about the second temple, which Yechezkel saw already, and our sages actually built. We'll see in a few minutes how they built it in the future, and the sacrifices will to be nullified. That means if there's no temple, we cannot do sacrifices. Actually, there's an opinion, the Rambam's opinion is that even if we don't have a temple, we could actually do sacrifices, animal sacrifices, if we knew where the exact point in earth was the Mizbeach, the altar. We will learn about this later. But today we don't know this, so sacrifices to be nullified. God knew this. He knows the future. Even so, do not allow yourselves, he's talking to the Jewish people, to forget the order of sacrifice. You should learn about it. At least learn about it. But rather be careful to read about them and review them. And if you occupy yourself with them, I will count it for you as if you were occupied with the sacrifices themselves. That means that when a person is learning the laws of the sacrifice, the way it was done, where it was done, etc., all the details, it is as if she offered, whatever, a sacrifice themselves. And if he continues, the Midrash continues, and if you want to know that this is so, come and see that when the Holy One, blessed be He, showed Yechezkel the form of the temple, tells the Midrash. What did he say? What did God say to Yechezkel, a Navi, a prophet? Describe the temple to the house of Israel, like go tell them what the temple will be like. Don't forget, again, we're talking about between the destruction of the first and construction of the second one. So there was no temple. But go tell them what the temple will be like. Let them be ashamed of their iniquities, because, of course, we don't have a temple, because we didn't deserve it. And measure the plan. Go measure each part of the plan, what will be over here, over there, etc. This is found in Yechezkel 43:10. Now, Yechezkel responded to the Holy One, blessed be He. Wait a second. Until now, we are put into exile in the land of our enemies, Babylons, in those times. And you say to me to go and inform Israel about the form of the temple. And, as the verse says, write it in their eyes, like make a plan of it. And they should preserve its form and all of its statues and do them, whatever. It's just a plan. Like, what's it for? And asks Yechezkel to God, like a conversation. Are they able to do them? Like, they live in Babylon. They're not in control of the land of Israel. The land of Israel is actually barren. It's nothing over there. And you tell me, go tell them how the temple is going to be? What do you mean? They can't do it. What do you need a plan for if you can't do it? If you give me the plans of Trump Tower and somewhere else, somewhere I don't know where, I can't do it. I'm sorry. I'm Tuvi in Argentina. I can't build Trump Tower. So what do I need the plan for? Continues. Leave Yechezkel talking to God. Leave the poor Jews alone until they emerge from the exile. And afterwards, I will go and tell them what the plan is going to be. This is what Yechezkel actually claimed to God. So the Holy One, blessed be He, said to Yechezkel, and because my children are in exile, the building of my temple should be idle? Wait a second. What difference does it make where they are, in which situation they are? They should work on the building of my temple. Anyway, the Holy One, blessed be He, said to him, to Yechezkel, it's reading about the temple in the Torah, is as great as its building. Go and say it to them, to the Jewish people, and they will occupy themselves to read the form of the temple in the Torah. And in reward for its reading, and they occupy themselves to read about it, I count it for them as if they were occupied with the building of the temple itself. That means, from this Midrash, we see clearly that by learning about the laws of the temple, how the temple was, the shape of the temple, etc., we're actually building it.